Hello, my name is Carl Surrey, and this is a video tutorial for the Facebook group called Fans of Serif Software. Now, this is going to be part 3 of a look at making watermarks stroke logos. I had originally to only make it a 2-part series, but I forgot to mention some things on both of those previous videos, so I'm just going to clear up a few items with this third and final video. So what I need to do is open up the SPP file that I made in video 2, which I can do by going to the Start Assistant, and it is already listed there as one I made today. So that will open up, and anybody who's seen that video will know how I made all these different layers and how you can alter them still if you want to. So all I need now is another image to place into that. So again, I'll go back to the Startup Assistant and select this image. Now this image is much smaller than the SPP file, because this file was set to the output size that my camera makes, which is 5184 by 3456, whereas this image here, one, it was made on a different camera, but also when I processed it, I cropped it and what have you. So now this is 3684 by 2760. But what I will do here is I will select all and edit, copy, go back to the SPP file, and I will highlight the background layer, come up to edit, paste as a new layer, and that image will now be placed above the background but below these various logos. And what I'll do is I will turn them all off, not the image, all these layers off, and I'll then come back down to, it's still highlighted, this image layer, and I'll come to the move tool, and I will move this to a corner, because when it comes to cropping it later, I can start from this corner and work out, and it'll be much better. So now I need to pick a version of one of these logos that I think will work best. Or if none of these are working, I can always just make a new layer, a text layer, and try again. But that one's not too bad. It stands out quite well on this sepia type image. So if I highlight that layer, I can, now once on the move tool, I can move this around. Now obviously this is now too big. Let me just, I think I'll put it along the top there. So if I go back to the text tool, put the cursor along the edge of the text, try that again, come all along the way and highlight the whole of the text. I can then alter the size. Let's go down to 48, and then come back to the move tool. I can move that to anywhere I want. So as all these are preset, because I saved them in the SPP file, when you import a picture, you can select them and still alter them because they are still text layers. As long as they've got this T next to them, they are text layers, and you can alter them. So once you've selected the layer that you want to use, and you want to disregard all these other layers, what you can then do is come up to layers and go to merge all, and you could probably even do merge visible, but I'm going to do the merge all. It will now, that will be one single background image, and then you just need the crop tool. Start from the corner that you've moved it into, and then once you've selected the size, double click, and there you have your finished image, which you can then save as or export, and your image is now saved with your logo on it. And I will then just get rid of these items, and then I will come back to do something else which I forgot to mention earlier. Okay, I've come back to the plain window for PhotoPlus, and I'm going to click on new, and this is still set from the previous size, which I'm going to keep. I could, in fact, I can. You could just alter these round, because what I want to do is make a portrait version of the SPP file. So I will change this from 3, 4, 5, 6, and then change the other one to 5, 1, 8, 4, and then click OK. So as you can see, that is portrait. What I could have done, I could have just left it in the landscape, and then I could have done image, rotate, and then I could have rotated it around using the 90 degrees rotations, but I've done it this way. So basically it's similar to how I did it before. Is select a grey colour, that's close enough, flood fill, and come down to the text tool. But before I do that, I'm going to put the colour back to the default of black foreground, white background, and then come to the text tool, because this time that black foreground colour will be transferred up here, so the text will be black rather than the grey it will set on. So I'm just going to draw out the text size that I want. Do the Alt 0169 space and my name, and then again just click highlight, choose the font size I want, font style I mean, and the size. Now obviously the portrait bit is thinner now across the width, so a bigger size is probably not as appropriate, so I will come down to, well, in this case 72. I think I used 72 when I did the landscape images, but if you had a really long name to put in, obviously you'd need to make it a bit smaller. So I will leave it at 72, and then just click, so you can see that is now black. I will rename it by coming to properties and doing black. Okay. Now I'm not going to make 6 different, or I think I've made 8 different ones on the landscape one. You can do that as you want, But you can see the idea of making one SPP file in landscape format and one SPP file in portrait format. So you are covered for whichever format image you are going to import. I will make one more layer, which I will just call effects. Okay, so it's duplicated that layer. If I come to the move tool, I can move that up. And then I'm going to open the layers and then effects. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it more transparent. I'm going to increase some of the maximum and the minimum a bit. And I'm also going to put in an outer glow, or is it maybe an inner glow, rather than an outer glow. Let me just click OK and then zoom in so I can see it better. Let's try that again. Layers, effects. Now I can see it a bit better. Let's take out the inner glow. Outer glow with a bit of beveling. So as you can see, you can tinker with this as long as you've got that layer highlighted. You can then come back to the text tools and the layers effects and keep tinkering away. So you can outline it on the outside, or in the center, or on the inside. So I'll leave it at that, just this, and then zoom out again. So as you can see, I've got two. I've made two, but you could make loads more, and then save it as an SPP file. So now what we need is a landscape image, a portrait image, to go into this. So if I again come up to the Start Assistant, I have this black and white image, which I took off some steps leading from the beach going up to the Naze Tower at Walton. And so I will select that, select all, edit, copy, go back to this image, again highlight the background, and then edit, paste as a new layer. Now as you can see, both of these text layers are currently visible. So if I go to the move tool, I can move the black up here to the light area, for example, and I can move this other more transparent image up here to the light area. So you can use either one. So again, even if I move this back down here, I mean, because this being a black and white image, I mean black and white logos can get lost a little bit, especially black, because I mean if you've got any dark areas, you're just going to lose them altogether. But if I, just for an example, highlight this and change it to white, and then go to the move tool, as you can see, white does work better on a black and white image than black does. But you can also lower its opacity, so it is not as glaringly white, if you understand what I mean, and is just a bit more subtle. So there you have with just 2 layers made on this particular version. You have the portrait version and the landscape version, which I made earlier in video 2. Now, the last thing that I forgot to mention in this tutorials is there is another way to get these layers onto an image. So what I will do is I will close down that, but I won't save it. I'll close down that, I won't save it. And what I will do is go back to the Startup Assistant and select this landscape SPP file that I made earlier, and again Startup Assistant, and I'll go back to this image that I used in the previous videos. So from this SPP file with all these various layers, this time I'm not going to copy and paste the image into these stack of layers. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste one of these layers into the image. The one I'm going to select is that one, I think, which if I remember rightly is the embossed layer. So if I click and highlight, which is why it's a good reason to name these different layers, make it memorable so you know which one is which. In fact, that's not the embossed layer, because that's black, that's why it's grey, that's the embossed layer. So that one there is the effects layer. See, this is why you need to name them. So you click and highlight the layer you want, and then you come up to Edit and Copy, then go to the image you want to add it to, and then Edit, Paste as a new layer. Now, as you can see, that has now been added as a new layer, and I can move it around the screen. The difference here is this has now been copied, for want of a better phrase, as an image. It is no longer a text layer. You cannot edit it, but you can still make alterations to it. I mean, because you could go to the deform tool and change its size, for example, or how it rotates or not. So you do have some options still, but not as many as you did by using the SPP file and adding the image into that. So I will leave that as the end of all these 3 videos, and then all you need to do is to merge the layers and then save under a new name. Always save under a new name, whether you save it as SPP files or JPEGs or any other format. Save it under a new name, so then your original SPP file or JPEG will always be kept until you've always got the version with the watermark and the version without. Because I mean, not that I'm ever going to sell an image, but if you are in that game and you are going to sell your images, you can give your customer the watermark version to sort of have a quick look at, and if they like it and want to buy it, you can then sell them the version without the watermark. Okay, thank you and goodbye.